Hey y'all, welcome to Cop Work. We're talking today about if you want to be a detective. If you're a cop and starting in patrol, or seems to interest you to be a detective, these are my stories. I loved being a detective. It was a lot of fun for me because I got to chase people. Sometimes solving crime is like working a puzzle, figuring it out, who done it, and then where they're at, so you can go get them. I really enjoyed it. And today, we're going to talk about one that was a whodunit. I got a report one day of we had a closed convenience store in the town agency I worked for. Back in the day, you used to could get gasoline pumps up out of the ground. It took some effort, but you could get them. And you could take them to places and they would be refurbished and sold to, sorry about that, mom and pop gas stations. You can't do that now. They've got them to where they're all like just one molded piece or something, and I don't think you can do that anymore. But anyway, I got a report of, thankfully the officer was smart enough to at least write an information report. He had driven up on these two guys that were taking these gas pumps out of this closed convenience store. And they showed him a fake bill of lading and all this kind of stuff. Everything they showed him was fake. And anyway, thank God, he had been smart enough to write down the license plate of the truck they were in. And back in the day, there was no social media. It wasn't like it is now. And from that license plate, I figured out who they were. And the guy that was my sergeant had worked for another city. And he had put this suspect in jail years before. He said, "I know this guy." And I was like, unbelievable. He said, "Yeah, this guy's bad." And so we chased him down. He's living in a suburb of another city. And we chase him down. We get him. And as we're talking to him, I said, "Listen, you better tell us where these gas pumps are, how many more you've stolen, what you've done, because otherwise we're going to put you in jail and we're going to take that truck of yours and impound it and seize it because it was used in felony crime." And he said, "Please don't do that." He said, "This truck is not mine. It belongs to my son." And the registration was in the son's name. My sergeant thought that it was this guy, but it wasn't. His son and him had the same name. And so we said, "Okay, we're going to use you as what back in the day was a confidential informant." Those don't even hardly exist anymore either. They said, "I want to know who you were with, where you took this stolen property, and what else you've been doing." And he agreed. He was a heroin addict. And he agreed. And so we would go get him at like 9 o'clock in the morning. He would have already shot up, and we had to have him back home by 4 so he could shoot up again. And we used him to hammer the people that they had sold the stolen gas pumps to, because those people knew they were stolen. So we set them up and told them they agreed to buy what they thought was more gas pumps, but they weren't. We had just borrowed them from somebody, and we popped them for stolen merchandise. And they said, okay, listen, if you won't shut us down and you won't put us in jail, we'll tell you who all these people are that are selling us these stolen gas pumps. We said, "You know they're stolen?" They said, "Yeah, we know they're stolen. But we get them cheap and we refurbish them and we make a big profit." So we agreed, and they were in another major city. And so we called that police department and their detective division. And so they came over and worked with us, and they told us who everybody was and where they were living. These heroin addicts were living in this major city. And so we got warrants for the other guy that was with our informant when they stole in the city I worked in. And so we go over there one morning about, it was about 5:30, I guess, and it was a little bit cool, probably up to 50 degrees. It wasn't cold. Had a light jacket on. Well, we kicked their door in because we have a felony arrest warrant, and we get in there and it must have been 80 degrees in there, or 100, it felt like. There was trash piled floor to ceiling, trails cut in there. There was people laid up, passed out. It was just, there was 10 of them in there, and they were all heroin addicts. It was nasty. It was hot. Heroin addicts usually always cold. And so they had those old nasty space heaters, and it was, I'm telling you, it felt like it was 100 degrees in there. Well, we go over to the guy that we're looking for, and he's passed out in the bed. We roll him over, cuff him up, stand him up, get him to the car. He's still passed out. He don't wake up till we get about halfway back to where we're going. I'm like, really? So, you know, we get him, we get the confession, and he tells us, well, and in the house, we got a little bit of black tar heroin, not very much, a little bit. And we turned over all those heroin addicts to that city. And then the guy that we were interviewing, he told us where they were fencing the property, where they'd been stealing. By the time that was over, we had gotten back $100,000 worth of stolen gas pumps. We turned over 2 major fences of stolen property to this major city, and they got back $750,000 worth of stuff. These guys were going out to ranches, out around and stealing, back in the day, 3-wheelers, 4-wheelers, big equipment to sell for nothing because they were heroin addicts. So it took a little bit of work to figure it out, but we ran him down and got it figured out and used him as a CI. Now, you couldn't do that today. You can't threaten people today because you got to be nice today. But it worked out. We got some heroin addicts off the street. A major city got busted 2 major fences of stolen property. We cleared up a bunch of offenses, got a bunch of things back. And if you like that kind of thing, that's really a lot of detective work. Unless you are specialized in working in capers, crimes against persons. Like I said, we didn't do that. We were so small. Back in the day, we worked everything. When we worked burglaries, we worked capers, we worked everything. Which was great because you got to learn how to do a lot of things. Anyway, I really, really liked it. So, I always like to end these videos with an appeal. If you can, please donate to the hurricane relief effort. They don't have anything, and they need everything, even though it's been a couple of months. I saw the other day they're still finding the deceased up in the trees, which is just so awful. So awful. But if you can, help them out. Donate to a charity that you think is on the up and up. I do that. And so, if you can, please donate to the hurricane relief effort. And I always like to quote one of my favorite cop shows I've ever been on, was Hill Street Blues. And when that sergeant would, in his briefing, he would say, "Let's be careful out there." Well, I paraphrase that with, "Y'all be careful out there."